So, the 2010s was a very interesting time for Disney animated films. Some might consider it to be Disney's most successful and memorable era for animated films since the Renaissance era films back in the 90s. After a decade of hits and misses throughout the 2000s with films like Chicken Little and Treasure Planet, Disney would later return back stronger than ever, making timeless films that were all mostly successful. The 2010s decade was truly a great time for Disney animated films. This era brought back the classic Disney formula from decades past, with some people considering it Disney's big comeback into the mainstream. And this era would be called the Revival era, starting with The Princess and the Frog back in 2009 and ending with Strange World in 2022. During this era, Disney released a total of 13 animated films that were universally praised and well received by the general public. These films were all mostly popular amongst fans, gaining massive critical and box office success, with some of these films even making over $1 billion globally. The Disney Revival era included a wide variety of genres ranging from musicals to action adventures to buddy comedies, romance, science fiction, and more. This was also the era of Disney films where we saw a wide variety of diversity and inclusion amongst the characters with different body types, age, gender, race, and ethnicity. We also got to see films with more fleshed out stories and characters during this time. The Disney Revival era showcased many themes that hadn't been yet explored by Disney, including prejudice, abandonment, sisterhood, and generational trauma, amongst many other topics. Speaking of, the Revival era was when the traditional Disney villain trope disappeared and was replaced with mostly stories involving internal conflict and family trauma, with many having surprise twist villains towards the end of the films. I actually enjoyed most of these films as I found most of them to be the best Disney animated films in recent memory. So I thought it would be fun to rank all of these films from what I think are the worst to best in my opinion. For this list, I won't be including Disney's recent animated release with Wish. Wish missed the cutoff by a year, and this movie was just so bland and forgettable. It had potential to be a better film, but it's just not that good.
I'm talking. I am talking. Who knew my voice would be this low?
Yeah, this movie sucks, but anyways, on to the list. So, I loved Winnie the Pooh as a kid, reading the books, having toys, and watching the specials on Disney Channel and ABC Family. And I always loved the characters and found the 100-Acre Woods to be a cute setting with some fun characters. So, in the summer of 2011, Disney released the Winnie the Pooh film, and the film was basically a continuation of the Winnie the Pooh franchise. The film actually served as a resurgence for the Winnie the Pooh franchise, and this movie was just okay. I think the film was just fine, as it was just nice to see these iconic characters return to the big screen. The film was actually split up into 3 different parts, which was very unique and stood out from any other film at the time. The main problem I have with this movie is that its runtime was only 70 minutes, which was extremely short, and that it just had a very forgettable and basic plot. The Winnie the Pooh movie actually underperformed at the box office due to it being released the same day as the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which just feels like self-sabotage in my opinion, but who am I? On a good note, I did really enjoy the animation, and this was Disney's last traditional 2D animated film before they completely transitioned to a 3D animation, which is just so interesting to me. Anyways, the Winnie the Pooh film was just okay, and was the obvious choice for last place due to the other films just being a little bit better, and how forgettable this one was. After the massive success of the first Frozen back in 2013, it was only a matter of time before the sequel would be released, and it was definitely something. I'm not the biggest fan of this franchise, but I was really excited to see how they were gonna top the first one with this film. Frozen 2 was obviously a clear cash grab for Disney, as it felt very rushed, unfinished, and all over the place, which is pretty sad because this film actually had potential to be much better than what we were given. The overall story just wasn't as interesting as the first one, making it feel a bit disjointed and all over the place at times. The characters also just fell a little flat in this film compared to the first one. Olaf was even more annoying and obnoxious, whereas in the first one, he was just a little bit more tolerable. Kristoff was barely in the film and became a background character. With this annoying running gag of him trying to propose, it just got really old really quick. And Elsa became even more frustrating and unrelatable as a character. Anna, on the other hand, had more confidence with a more focused story arc, which was a nice change of pace for her. I also feel like the chemistry between Anna and Elsa in this film was just non-existent, as they have nothing really in common to me. The musical numbers in this film also weren't as great or memorable compared to the original movie, with the exception of songs like Show Yourself and Into the Unknown, which are just okay songs. On a good note, the animation and forest setting was just so breathtaking, with some of Disney's most stunning sequences. Despite making over $1 billion at the box office domestically, the film ended up being one of Disney's most forgotten films over the years. Yeah, Frozen 2 had potential to be a much better sequel. It just fell flat and lacks any memorability or standout quality. This was just a forgettable film. Like Frozen 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet ended up falling flat and not living up to the expectations from the first film. Although the movie was funny and entertaining to watch, it was just all over the place, having one of the most bizarre plots in any Disney film. Being a film all about internet culture, virality, memes, and more makes it just feel super dated upon rewatch. Many of the internet jokes and references were just a bit cringe to me, with so many already outdated references.
What the heck? Dang internet!
This movie really felt like a fever dream to me. There's just so much product placement and hidden Easter eggs throughout the film, making it a bit fan servicey. There was just so many scenes and references to other Disney projects, making it feel like one big advertisement. I did enjoy some of the scenes, like the racing sequence and the slaughter race game, as well as the Disney princess scene, which was easily the best part of the entire film in my opinion. I really liked seeing all of the princesses interact with one another. It was just amazing and actually pretty funny to watch. And the overall concept of Ralph and Vanellope being in the internet was a cool idea. It just wasn't executed as well as it could have been. I did like how Ralph and Vanellope went on this journey of personal growth throughout the film. Vanellope found interest in something new and exciting, while Ralph discovered that he was insecure about losing his only real friend, which later turned him into a literal monster, which I guess in a way is somewhat of a metaphor. Despite my criticism, Ralph Breaks the Internet was a pretty fun movie with some good moments sprinkled in here and there. It was just a film that we didn't need because the first one was perfect, but we'll get to the first one later on in this video. So, Strange World is a movie that I honestly forgot about despite being a pretty recent release. This film is about a 3-generational family of explorers who find themselves in a strange world with strange creatures and have to find ways to get along as a family unit despite their differences. I like how this film is all about family relationships as well as preserving the environment. This was Disney's take on another sci-fi action adventure film with some really great animation and some really great action sequences. With that being said, Strange World is not a great film. The storyline was predictable and boring, while the characters were not that great or memorable. I don't care for or remember this character, or this character, or that character, this character, blah blah blah, whatever. It was just a pretty forgettable Disney film with stunning animation and great voice acting, just a very forgettable film. And there was nothing really special about this one, so I really wanted to like this film so bad when it first came out, but I was left a little disappointed. So Raya and the Last Dragon was about a girl who wants to restore her kingdom by bringing back dragons from years past to protect the kingdom from this large cloud of darkness. That's right, this film doesn't have a villain, it's just a random cloud of darkness. But anyways, the film actually has a great setup for a great storyline that had a lot of potential, as the first 20 minutes or so were so good and everything else just felt a little flat to me. The whole thing of trusting one another was a great concept, but it did get repetitive after a while, where at times it felt like an after-school special that just got real preachy and repetitive. So Mariah is the main lead of the film. She's very headstrong, confident, quirky, and courageous. She honestly feels like a mix of Mulan, Pocahontas, Merida, and Moana to me. I do like Mariah as a character. She's just in a very forgettable film. And then you had Sishu the dragon, who was voiced by Awkwafina. And this has to be one of the most annoying and obnoxious funniest characters in Disney's history, in my opinion. Shishu does have some pretty good moments here and there, but just comes out very annoying, unlikable, and in the way. I just don't really like this character, and I found most of her jokes to be unfunny, forced, and cringe. I also hate her character design, as she just looks like a dragon with Elsa's face, and a disproportionate body ratio from her large head to her tiny body. Like I said earlier, this film also has a dark cloud thing that turns people of the kingdom into stone once it touches them, and it's a cool concept. I just wish we would have gotten a real villain. Although the side characters and plot were pretty bad and forgettable, the animation was absolutely stunning with some of Disney's best, and I did enjoy some of the action sequences. Those were pretty cool and fun to watch. Yeah, Raya and the Last Dragon, it just wasn't a good movie. Not a movie that I want to rewatch. A movie that I had high hopes for, but not a great movie. So Big Hero 6 was just an okay film that was based off an existing Marvel comic book. So this movie was about a robotics prodigy named Hiro who lost his brother to an explosion and was left with a robot named Baymax to protect him and others from danger. With the help of his new friends, they all become somewhat of a superhero group overnight. If I'm being honest, this isn't a movie that I rewatch as much as others, but I do enjoy it for what it has to offer. With a pretty solid storyline and fun characters, Big Hero 6 is easily one of the most unique Disney films out there. I love the overall vibe and the setting of this film. I also love the action and suspense sequences as well as the animation. Baymax was a great character that brought a lot of physical comedy and emotional depth to the film. I also really loved Hiro and his relationship with his brother during the intro, which was nice to see a storyline involving brothers. I just feel like his death was kind of unnecessary. It just didn't really need to happen, but whatever. What brings this film down a few spots to me is the twist villain. His motivation for being a villain was honestly kind of lame in my opinion. I get that he just wanted to use the microbots to bring his daughter back from that experiment, you know, being frozen in hyperspace and all. He honestly could have just stolen them and just, you know, saved his daughter without the explosion and faking his death. Yeah, it was just very contrived for no reason, but I digress. Despite the minor flaws here and there, I do enjoy this film for what it has to offer for action, adventure, and animation. And this movie came out around the time when Marvel and all the superhero movies were really starting to take over, so I guess it made sense for Disney to make one. This film was massive whenever it first came out back in 2013. Although Frozen was super successful, it's not my favorite Disney film, but I can appreciate it for what it is. This film was everywhere during the 2010s. Whether it was in the theme parks or the merchandise, it just became one of the most popular animated film franchises of all time. The characters were fun and memorable, and the animation still holds up really well over time. And the soundtrack was just great. Every song was just so good, from Love Is an Open Door to Do You Want to Build a Snowman and Let It Go. Fixer Upper is the only song from this film that I don't care about. Yeah, that song is pretty bad. I do like how this movie focused on the sister character dynamics with the two leads, Anna and Elsa, which was super unique for a Disney film at the time. I also love the other characters in this movie. As much as I love the characters in this film, I just find the overall storyline and plot of this film to just be okay. Just a bit mid, if you ask me.
That's my opinion!
Clap if you care.
Similar to Big Hero 6, Frozen suffers from having a forgettable and lame twist villain this time. This time with Hans of the Southern Isle. He was actually the love interest of Anna throughout most of the film, but then he becomes a villain for reasons. I actually don't mind having twist villains. They just get really repetitive and predictable over time to me. I also feel like this film didn't really need a villain, or maybe even have Elsa turn into a villain. That could have been a really cool concept, but you know what? I'm fine with what we got. I do enjoy Frozen as a solid film, just feel like it's missing something that would have made it a bit higher on my list. Zootopia is a really great Disney film from start to finish. This film is just so amazing with great characters, stunning animation, and a fun setting, making it one of the best in Disney's lineup. The different regions or biomes in this film were so cool and heavily detailed, making you feel as if you were a part of the world of Zootopia. Nick and Judy have some of the best chemistry between characters from any Disney film, making them the perfect duo. I really loved how this film had animals as leads rather than humans, with every character having memorable moments, even the side characters who appear once. So Zootopia used the whole predator versus prey concept between the different species of animals as an obvious allegory to racism, prejudice, and other forms of unfair mistreatment and judgment towards specific groups as the main themes of the film. I know some people might say that the film feels very woke and a bit preachy with its messages, but I think it was a necessary story that needed to be told, given the current climate we were in during the mid-2010s, when racism and all that stuff was a big topic at the time. This was yet another Disney film with yet another twist villain. I feel like this twist villain, though, had a better reason to be a villain. Even though Bellwether wasn't as menacing or convincing as the previous Disney villains, she held her own and kept this story pretty interesting up until her reveal. Zootopia was just such a fun film with a very unique and realistic plot, having some of the best characters and settings we have ever witnessed in any Disney film. I really like this film, and I think it's one of the most visually stunning animated films I've ever seen. Everything from the palm trees to the sand to the sunlight and the ocean sequences, this might be one of the best looking animated films to ever exist. Moana is about a girl who goes on a journey across the ocean to save her people and restore the heart of Te Fiti with the help of the demigod Maui. Moana is easily one of the best Disney protagonists as she's courageous, creative, spunky, positive, and adventurous. She's super relatable, down to earth, and just feels like a real genuine person that anybody would want to be friends with. Maui, on the other hand, he's the complete opposite. Voiced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Maui is loud, obnoxious, self-absorbed, and can be a butthole every once in a while. Now, I know they were going for the whole opposites attract character trope thing here, but I just found Maui to be super annoying and over the top throughout the film. He's actually one of my least favorite Disney characters, as he just felt in the way for most of the time. The film's themes mostly center around confidence, self-worth, adventure, self-discovery, as well as many others. I really didn't know where to rank this at first, but chose to put it here in the middle section because I do think it's a great film with gorgeous animation, just a pretty boring story. The first 20 minutes or so of the film are really strong, especially the whole setup with her grandmother passing away, but when they're on the boat in the middle of the ocean, the film just drags until something interesting happens. And this happens for most of the film's runtime. They do break it up throughout the film, having Moana and Maui face many obstacles while on the water, which was a necessary switch up because if they didn't, this movie would just be pretty boring. On a good note, I do like this film a lot. I just think there are better choices that rank a few spots higher. I really love this film. I know a lot of people find this film to be either forgettable, generic, or boring. I actually find it to be a masterpiece and one of Disney's best animated films. Being the first and only Black Disney princess, I love how she carries herself with so much class and grace. I also loved how she's of a darker complexion, rather than the lighter skin tones we usually see in films and television. Tiana is a great lead character as she's confident, self-aware, sassy, determined, and hardworking, making her one of the best Disney princesses in my opinion. I know many people discredit and overlook this film mostly due to the fact that we finally got a Black princess who unfortunately was a frog throughout most of the film's runtime. As a Black person myself, I completely understand and get why people feel away. However, I feel like many people overlook what this film has to offer. Tiana has dreams and aspirations of owning her own restaurant business and won't let any obstacles get in her way. Her turning into a frog was just another obstacle that slowed her down but made her want it even more. I just love that this film is all about not giving up on your dreams and being persistent despite what happens along the way. The Princess and the Frog also has some of the best animation from any Disney film, as each scene was just absolutely stunning. The jazz music and New Orleans setting was also so good, as everything just felt so detailed and vibrant. The whole theme of working hard and not taking the easy way out in life just resonated with me so much, which, speaking of, Dr. Facilier was such a great villain for this film. I love his character design and I love his song. He was just very menacing and manipulative, making him one of the best Disney villains in recent years. He actually reminds me a lot of Ursula from The Little Mermaid, how they both steal souls and take advantage of people trying to make their dreams come true instantly. Overall, this was a great Disney film with some of the best animation, music, characters, and storylines. So this film actually surprised me when I first saw it back in 2021. I thought it was gonna be a pretty forgettable movie, but it ended up being a masterpiece, surpassing my expectations. Taking place in 1950s Colombia, this film was just so vibrant and full of life. I also really loved that we got a Disney film that took place in a Spanish-speaking country. So Encanto is about the Madrigal family who lives in a magical casita with various magical gifts thanks to their magical candle that has been passed down. And this candle has been around for ages in the family. The family uses their gifts to help the residents of the Encanto function with their everyday lives, whether it be providing the weather, providing free medical assistance, and even moving heavy objects around the town. Some of the magical gifts are actually pretty useless in my opinion, like talking to animals or making flowers and other plants appear in midair. Like, how is talking to animals gonna help protect the townspeople? But I digress. The animation in this film is just gorgeous, and the music was also really good. The main song from the film, We Don't Talk About Bruno, became the standout hit, actually becoming a chart topper on the Billboard Hot 100 for a few weeks back in 2022, making it the second Disney song in history to reach the #1 spot since A Whole New World from Aladdin back in 1993. Mirabelle is the main character as she's the only one without a magical gift, making her an outcasted member by default. So the film actually doesn't have a villain, as the generational trauma of the family actually serves as the main conflict, despite most fans saying the abuela was the villain of the film. Encanto deals with themes of family, generational trauma, loneliness, and acceptance, as well as other themes. As much as I love this film, my biggest critique is that there are way too many characters, where some overshadowed others, barely having any screen time. But this is a small issue that could easily be fixed within the sequel whenever that comes out. Besides that one issue, I really enjoy Encanto for its storytelling, setting, animation, music, and use of themes. Wreck-It Ralph has to be one of the most surprising and unique Disney films in recent years that nobody saw coming. I'm not gonna lie, this was a movie that I thought I was gonna hate for being super cringe and just awful when I first saw the trailer, but I ended up being really surprised at how good it actually was. This film was just a masterclass in storytelling, animation, characters, and more. Being a film set in a video game world, we were blessed with so many cool visuals, cameos, and references, which were just a lot of fun. I also love how bright and colorful this film was, especially with the Sugar Rush game, which is where most of the film took place. Throughout this film, we see many themes including friendship, trust, acceptance, and others. So Wreck-It Ralph is all about this video game character named Ralph who goes on this adventure to retrieve a gold medal in hopes of being accepted and treated fairly by the other characters in his video game, which was just such a good concept. He later befriends Vanellope, who's a racer in the Sugar Rush game, who also wants a gold medal so that she too can be accepted by her own community. As we later find out, she has a glitch and is known for messing up her game at times. I just loved how Ralph and Vanellope form a friendship as they both are outcast in their respected games. Like many other Disney films from this era, we have yet another twist villain, this time with King Candy. Honestly, he might be the best twist villain, as his reveal and backstory were perfectly crafted, and it just felt necessary to the overall story. The scene where Ralph wrecks Vanellope's new racing car has to be one of the most intense and gut-wrenching scenes from any Disney film. This was just a great Disney film that was filled with so many memorable characters, great animation, and a great story that still resonates with fans. So Tangled has to be one of the greatest Disney films ever made. It just has all the ingredients for a perfect film, with great storytelling, memorable characters, beautiful animation, and great music. This is a film that has aged gracefully over the years. It never gets old no matter how many times I've watched it as an adult. I just love how warm, fuzzy, and welcoming this film feels. So Tangled is based on the classic fairy tale about a princess who's locked away in a tower and eventually uses her hair to escape. The Disney version is a modern take on the story. Rapunzel is the main character who's been locked in the tower, where she spends most of her time painting, cleaning, and brushing her long hair as she dreams about the day where she would finally get to see what's outside her tower. Rapunzel is bubbly, optimistic, clumsy, awkward, charismatic, and quirky. There's actually a good video on YouTube about the quirky girl trope in Disney films. I highly recommend you watch it. Oh, and she also has magical glowing hair, which is pretty cool. Flynn Rider was also a great character from this film. He's charming, cunning, sarcastic, rebellious, and a bit of a troublemaker, as he stole a royal crown, seeking refuge in Rapunzel's tower. I just love the dynamic between Flynn and Rapunzel, as they are easily one of the best Disney couples in my opinion. That scene where they're on the boat singing See the Light while under the floating lanterns is just such a beautiful scene that gives me goosebumps every time I see it. But the one character that stood out the most in this film was Mother Gothel. She was the villain of the film, and one of the best Disney villains in recent memory. Mother Gothel is arrogant, self-absorbed, and manipulative. She's obsessed with vanity and staying youthful, as it's revealed that she actually stole Rapunzel as a baby for her own selfish gain, using her magical hair to keep her young and beautiful. Tangled has so many fun characters, memorable music, great action sequences, and a really great heartwarming and relatable story about self-exploration, freedom, and identity. To me, Tangled also felt like a nod to classic Disney fairy tale films from the past, with a nice modern twist, making it one of the best Disney animated films in recent memory. The revival era was truly one of the greatest eras for Disney animated films. So many memorable and iconic films were released during this decade. Disney really put out some of their best work during this time and had one of the biggest comebacks in film history. The Disney revival era was the most diverse set of films, ranging in various topics, fresh adventures, great animation, new characters, and storytelling, making it one of the best eras of Disney films. So, what was your favorite Disney revival era film? How would you rank them? What would you say was the worst? What was your least favorite? Who was your favorite character? What's your favorite song? And which of these films do you think will go down in history as a Disney classic? Thank y'all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate each and every one of you all. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more fun videos just like this. See ya!